A good amount of who you are or who I am really depends on the environment in which we live and the sort of things advertised to us. And whatever the advertisement, it either inspires you or depresses you. If you live in Palestine and bombs are being dropped on your head on a daily basis, you don't create music like Michael Jackson. Unlike you want to create music like they don't care about us. That's a good song, it's relevant. But you don't create happy music because happiness doesn't exist. And that's the advertisement you get. And out of that advertisement, most of the music that are created are sorrowful. And just in case you have singers who do rap, you don't sing about bling bling and sex and bitches and hoes. You talk about justice and fairness and power and injustice. So when I met my teacher, he wasn't in the academic field. He had a shop in Sacramento, the first Persian market. He sold ice cream, bread, cheese, and it's not like we went to his shop and we were inspired. That's what I want to be. He was really a nobody. And because of his temperament, he got into fights, just arguments with everyone and anyone, especially when he was younger. Very aggressive. And then when we would go to his house and sit, we would talk for many, many, many hours, but none of us, the three of us, me, Mirdad and Hussein, we never said to ourselves, well, when I grow up, I want to be like that, because it was only just three of us. His wife would bring us tea, once in a while she would sit. It was mostly Persian poetry, we would speak in Persian. And he wasn't making money, we were not giving him money, so you couldn't say, I want to do what he's doing because that's the way he makes his living. So the only thing that inspired us really was just going there, sitting, listening, being inspired, or getting depressed and then going home. But for the first, I think, 10, 15 years that we were there, not once any of us imagined that we want to grow up to be like him. That wasn't our thing. And plus, because I think when you're seeking something and you don't yet have it, you can't be inspired and you can't be happy, except that I'm on this quest to get A, B, C, D. But while you're on the quest, there's a good amount of longing and yearning inside you. And though the quest itself could be inspiring, because you don't have what you want, what you have are two siblings, and the other one shows her face more often, which is sadness and depression and loneliness and isolation and not knowing exactly what the hell it is that you're doing. And in your eyes, everybody's like doing something. Someone is going to Princeton, another's getting married, another is making money, and here you are washing cars. And the only, I think, inspiration that the three of us were getting were from the books. Books like Mantawatir, Rumi, and books in Persian and Arabic. So meeting Hussein, to some extent, destroyed whatever dream we had, which was really good. And we were young, we had zero attachment to things, so at least for me. And then something strange happened, which was my brother got a job, first at an IT company, and then he worked for the state, and then he went to teaching. And I was still washing cars. Then my teacher's wife, Miss Shadia, she started teaching. Seeing my brother, seeing his wife, and then comparing myself to both my brother, my sister, and Shadia did something for me, which was, there were advertisements, the three people. It created inside me envy. I wasn't envious of Snoop Dogg's looks. I wasn't envious of George Michael, the singer who passed away. I was envious of the fact that here's my siblings, my sister and my brother, they're both doing something. Here is her, she's doing something, and here I am. I have all these degrees and I'm amounting to nothing. And so the envy grows into jealousy, the jealousy grows into anger. So all the seven deadly sins are fully, to some extent, blossomed inside me. And the most important is pride. And at the very core of this thing called pride, there is one thing that exists very, very forcefully. Me. My life is important. I've accomplished things. Where is my share of things? And so I began to apply to various places. Now, I still don't know how I'll be in the classroom. All I know is that, well, I have all these degrees that are in philosophy. It's really useless, unless like Bruce Lee, you want to sit and talk to trees. So I started applying. And so the biggest advertisement I got in interviews was that I go there and I get a chance to see myself in action. And what I had always believed about myself, this sort of set of advertisements, were still true. I'm a loser. I mean, interviews that were supposed to last for maybe an hour and a half would end in about 10 minutes. Because as a student, whenever you find yourself in the presence of your teacher, you're nothing. If he asks you, so what do you want to talk about? It's up to you, really. And what do you want to eat? It's really up to you. Do you want to just end things and go home? Well, if you tell us that's what we should do, that's fine, that's okay. And so when you become addicted to always, as we say in Persian, گفتی ز خاک بیشترن اهل عشق نه از خاک کمترین, that you are lower than dust. You know, so when you go to the interviews, you're supposed to like brag. You know how prostitutes show legs? You're supposed to like show your intellect and your experience and tell them about how great you are as an instructor should they hire you. Because that wasn't in our container. And if it was, it had been diminished profoundly. The committee would look at you and say, he looks really good on paper, but in real life, it's like dating apps. They look really good on the app, but when you see them in a coffee shop, it's, oh my God. And so there was a gal who was our customer at the car wash. And one day she said, you know, I work for Sac State in this department. If you have degrees, maybe I can talk to someone. I said, yeah, I'll talk to someone. It wouldn't be bad. And so she calls me after a few days saying, would you like to teach this class? I said, yeah, are you kidding? Now, you're still a novice, and most of the things that we do in life, first, it takes place in your imagination. I'm going to get married, it's going to be great. I'm going to be a father, it's going to be great. I'm going to go to Princeton, it's going to be great. I'm going to sign up for class, it's going to be great. Everything great. Why? Because that's how imagination works. It's always rosy up there. But at a certain point, things come down, and you get tested. Now, you walk in the classroom, and it's something you've never done before. I used to sing. But the classroom, talking about philosophy, that's too grand. I mean, the idea of Socrates saying, I know that I know nothing, that's an amazing place to be. It means that as a kid, you thought you knew a few things. As an adult, you certainly thought that you knew a few things. Then you would go around, push people around because you assume you know a few things. Then you get to a certain place and say, man, you know, life is too grand. It's too mysterious, too complex. I have no idea. So it's best to keep my mouth shut. So yeah, I could sing poetry, I could play the sitar, but talking about philosophy, no, that wasn't my forte. And so I walked to the classroom and my mouth opens. And I realized, well, I'm not bad. And then I find myself to be a little animated. That's a bit more spicy, you know. But then I joke around a little. Woo. And then as heat generates in my body, and I button this one, and I unbutton this one, and before you know it, I'm just like teaching my class naked, in nude. And so what happens is, for the first time, and this is, remember, this is accidental. You can't fake this stuff. I mean, you can't go play basketball or practice basketball every day and say, if I continue doing this, I'll be a Michael Jordan. It doesn't work that way. You can have the skills, but passion is very different. You can make your passion blossom even more with skills. So what I discovered was that it's just a gift. Maybe I'm just a weirdo, and maybe this is all just a figment of my own imagination. Maybe my students really hate me. They faked it for the past 30 years. I really suck as an instructor. There is no animation, there is no passion. I just come to class, wing it, and go home, thinking myself to be great. Meanwhile, the students in the back are puking. So then, I'm sitting in my office, there's a knock on the door, this student comes, and that student comes. And then I realize, in the course of the past 30-some years, I in fact have the power to tell the student, what you're doing in life sucks, you need to do philosophy. And they say, okay. And so that gives me a good amount of power. And then I become a piece of advertisement now in class. As a piece of advertisement, all advertisements create a mirage. And I don't know if you know what a mirage is. My brother's name is Iraj, but because Americans have difficulty pronouncing it, we call him Miraj. And they can't pronounce my name the right way, Amir. So we just go Mir. So there's a joke in our family that my brother shows you what you want to see. That's a mirage. A mirror, shows you what or how you exactly are. Ugly, beastly, pathetic. And so what happens is some poor student comes and sits in the class and looks at this piece of advertisement. Looks, hears, feels, and they enjoy the sort of feelings that they get by sitting in the class. They begin to think, in different ways. They begin to feel things. They go home and they begin to have conversations with your family, with their friends, with their companions, in ways they never had before. And something about them, one of the 7 deadly sins, which is beautiful, really enters inside them, that's called lust. They lust for more class time. They lust for more coming to the office, which is really rude, and they become greedy for it. And then there is this breaking point or turning point for them, which is, well, I come to class, I say all the stuff, and I also tell them, you know, if you do go into teaching and if you get your master's, I can open some doors and you can get paid like $100 an hour. That's not bad. What happens is they say, okay, there are going to be a couple of narratives. I'm going to go to San Francisco, get my degrees. That's one narrative. Once I get a degree, I'm going to get a job. And what is lucky for them is that there are no needs for interviews. I am the person who will interview them. The other narrative that is a bit more complicated is, this is what I see. To get to his position, being at the very front of the classroom, is go to school, be in the classroom, and teach or be just like that. That's a piece of advertisement. Now, they may be like me, they may be much, much better, and they may be much, much worse. And that is a shot in the dark, and no one knows until they're tested. It's kind of like that scene in the movie The Matrix, you know, where he wakes up and says, I know Kung Fu. And Morpheus says, well, yes, you know Kung Fu in your head. Let's go to this other scenario and let me see if you actually know how to use Kung Fu in a practical way. And of course he doesn't, he gets his behind whooped, okay? And that's what the classroom is.